Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Hillyard, and I'm here with Michaela Villiers-Kendall, and we are going to do Astrospeak. Today, we're joined by Robin Grabfelder, Jordyn Smith, Marty Dixon, and Nia Fyler. So let's just jump right in. We'll start with the recent full moon, which, it seems like every full moon, every eclipse is a potent one. And, here we go again. This one was square Pluto and Mars, and conjunct Chiron. So, woof.
Yeah. I think the conjunction to Chiron was probably the heaviest part of it. That's what because it picked up the nodes and everything. So, all that nodal, the eclipse in April.
Right.
So yeah.
Which
was really
exactly
heavy.
conjunct the
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the return of Chiron's USA Chiron return in the Sibley chart. So it's been heavy ever since.
Yeah.
I agree. Heaviness is really felt. I really feel the heaviness, and more than that, I feel the pull towards being angry and insistent, feeling right and righteous, and not giving in or tolerating any misbehavior, so to speak. That feeling of righteousness is what I fear the most,
Yes.
Because then we end up being righteous and bitter and alone and resentful instead of loving and forgive, yeah.
But it's very hard when you're in the thick of it, like you are, Nia, you're in Tel Aviv, and, to actually maintain that openness and that heart openness, that must be very difficult at this stage. So it's okay for us, maybe it's sort of okay outside, but when you're actually there.
Well, I know, but thank you for saying that, Michaela, but the floor is always crooked. We can always give ourselves excuses, why we shouldn't be the better persons that we can be. But we're judged, not when it's easy. We're judged when it's hard.
Yeah.
So we have to remember, A, we're not perfect. We're going to foul up because we're behemoth, all of us. We're just human. And secondly, let's try and be more than that, more than our programming.
Yeah.
As a recent movie just says.
Yeah. Actually, that makes me think of something. I was just looking at Israel's chart today, and Israel's moon at 4 degrees Leo, and of course, that's Mars is going to be. It's going into Leo, and obviously Pluto is going to go into Aquarius. November 20th, isn't it? I think it is. It goes into Aquarius. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the last time, the last ingress, and I was looking at Israel's chart, and I was looking at World War II, 1939. That's when the last ingress of Leo, where Pluto into Leo took place. And I don't know. Did I send you that chart? I don't know. I should maybe have it up next time. But it's really interesting because what happened was there was a Mars opposition to Pluto then when that happened. And it went in June 1939. And of course, 3 months, 6 months, 3 months later, just under World War II began. So we're sort of in the same predicament now. We're wavering on, the brink and hopefully pulling back. But at the moment, it's all not looking very good. So, but I was looking at Israel's moon, and amazingly, the Sabian symbol for that, because you just reminded me saying about the heart. And it says about, where is it? No. About the heart staying open, which is a difficult thing to do because, of course, Leo, the sun, Leo, it's rules the heart. And okay, I did mark it.
Their moon is 5 degrees,
4 and 5 degrees. Yeah. Sorry?
4 and change of Leo.
Yeah. So it's it's a man formally dressed and a deer with its horns folded. And it says about the heart. It says about this image is a heart that is closed or blocked off for a reason probably to do with the conditioning it has been subjected to by way of upbringing or karma, which are one and the same. However, receiving this symbol indicates that the time is right for opening the heart, expressing what lies within. So I just thought that's really interesting. Obviously, that's the moon, not the sun. The sun is at 23 in a Taurus, isn't it? So, you know, and the sun is where Uranus is going to be. So it's when it goes retrograde, I think it goes direct at 23 Taurus next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's what you said. It's keeping the heart open, and it seems with the moon being challenged by Pluto like this and Mars, that's going. But I mean, Israel, the people could probably do it. It's just the government. But anyway.
Yeah, but you know, the people are
all our governments.
the people are full, are festering as well on all
Yeah.
ends, you know, like there are light workers all around. You know, there are people who understand that light and love and compassion and reaching out and you know, extending your hands and your heart right now is the answer to the maladies that we're experiencing in
It is, but how
not
do you
only
do
in
it?
Israel but all over.
Yeah.
But still, you know, the outbursts of frustration. Can you imagine how the roads feel like, you know, when you're going through traffic, for an instance?
God.
You know, because that's where people vent out, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Or the social security lines, you know, the lines on the bank or the post office, you
My
know,
God.
because
Yeah.
that's where people are used to allow themselves to vent out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you could see some expressions there.
So now that it's tense. Yeah, exactly.
And I see that, you know, probably a lot in this Mars and Cancer with the north nodes of Jupiter, Pluto, and then heading toward the north node of Saturn. And, you know, it's going to be, it's crazy. I mean, we do need to open our hearts, but it's so hard. Nia, I mean, my heart goes out to you, thinking of, you know, just how we kind of talked about this a little bit before we started recording about a person should not have to worry about what's going to rain down on them if they go out in public.
Yeah.
Not only in public, you know, like right now, I'm in my apartment
in your home. Yeah.
And my daughter is sleeping in bed, and at least once every 24 hours, we have to run down to the shelter and we hear the bangs, you know, actually moving the whole building because missiles are hitting other missiles above our heads. And then all the pieces are falling down. That's what people usually get hurt from. The broken pieces of missiles that have been hit by other missiles, because most of the missiles are being targeted by our missiles. Thank goddess, you know. But still, it's so frightening for a 7-year-old.
Yes, of course. And 7, that's just, you know, the first Saturn square. That's when reality starts to anyway. I mean, you know, her chart's probably picking that up quite a bit, I would imagine. The Saturn square. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in 2 suicide bombings in my life. You know, my school bus got bombed in front of my eyes, and then I was on September 11th. And then I was a news reporter for many years, and they sent me to all of these awful incidents, and that really triggered my post-trauma. I don't want my child to be as post-traumatic as I am. You know, if I could take her to a place that the worst thing that she could experience is either, you know, a car accident or, you know, an anti-Semitic occurrence or something, I'd rather have that than all these missiles flying over my head and bombings and,
because that's unpredictable and that can just happen at any time.
I mean, that's just unsettling. You're living in a constant feeling of insecurity and trepidation. And that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
On any level.
Yeah.
At any age, for anyone.
As you say, Sue, that's very much, isn't it? Mars in Cancer, safety, security, cancer, vulnerability.
Within your own home. Within your
opposite
own home.
Pluto.
Opposite Pluto. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I feel
mean,
like the whole world is living in a very heightened state of anxiety these days.
Definitely.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. And even though you watch it constantly, I mean, I watch the news all the time, and just because of the astrology, I started doing it years ago, but now it's like, my God, it does. It affects you. It's like you have to do something to meditate or do hypnosis or something, or chakra therapy, Reiki, something to alleviate the stress all the time, because it's, especially as you're sensitive, and we're all sensitive because we're astrologers, and probably everyone watching has more sensitivity, and so you feel like it's invaded. But then that's been since 2020 with that eclipse in Cancer, which was right up across this Saturn Pluto conjunction in Capricorn.
Yeah,
We've
Right.
gone on from there.
exactly. That's the same cycle that we've started
Yes,
back then. That's true.
yes,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Marty, did you have something you wanted to add?
I'll just let the dog.
I just wanted to back up Michaela and Nia and say this is a universal angst that we're all feeling. I mean, everybody, we're so connected as a world community that we're all feeling that we need to just all we can do is pray for peace
Right.
and unite and like I like what Nia said. He said extending your hand is the answer, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
We're all in this together. Yeah.
yeah. But as you
And
say, Nia, yeah, it's that's constant though, isn't it? It's constantly opening the heart and getting past when you feel anger or fear or whatever it is. It's
It's a
actually,
constant inner battle. It's a
yeah,
constant inner battle because
yeah,
you want to lash out. You want to take that frustration out 20 times a day
yeah,
on someone close, you
exactly.
know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
yourself sometimes. So, yeah.
Yes, on yourself, of course. Self-sabotage. Yeah.
So,
It's tough, very tough.
Jordan
I
or
was
Robin,
saying
do
that
you
when I
have
woke up.
anything to add before we move on to the next chart?
Well, I was just like noticing how, this Saturn North Node going into Leo. I mean, it also it is almost like the effect of Saturn square Pluto. It's
Yes.
opposed Pluto, I mean, Saturn opposed Pluto. So, I mean, it just, kind of activates that cycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I was
yeah, I
looking
woke up
at
this
how
morning. I
I
woke
was
up this morning saying how I'm so tired of the constant feeling of worry and anxiety, but I feel that it's not just my own. I feel for the whole world. I feel like so much
Yeah.
of the world is feeling that. That
Yes,
just makes
exactly.
it's just such a heavy feeling.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to do the work all the time, to try and work through it and let it go and release it, because we have to be aware that's what we're going to feel. We're going to pick it up, and we have been.
And it's going to become even stronger. And that's an important point, because like
Yes.
90% of what I'm dealing with clients over the past few weeks is this
Building.
desperate
Yes.
morbidness, this feeling of
Yes.
mourning, of mourning.
Right.
And I'm trying to tell people that it's not just about the human conflict that is and the human situation that is going on. It's about the mass extinction that we are in.
Yes.
It's about more than 6,000 species going extinct every day. It's about mammals being extinct. It's about all ecosystems being destroyed. And
Yeah.
it's about our guardianship, in a sense, and our
It's all interconnected.
custodianship over
Yeah.
this network of living creatures of love and life that
Yes.
we are neglecting. It's
Yeah.
this call to return to be the stewards of this garden, in a
Sure.
sense.
Sure. But it is a constant bombardment, isn't it? With everything else. Oh God. But I mean, Pluto and Aquarius, that is sort of, as you say, it's the call to get back to nature. Aquarius rules nature as well as technology. So it's using these technologies too to aid that rather than to to destroy it. Use our technology for that, use our brain, our air, all this air coming in use
Right.
use that mental facility to construct, rather than destruct. And now we see the level of destruction. I mean, it's going to be hard.
Do we, or are we going to still see it? Unfortunately, yeah. But I
Well,
mean,
if we look
Taurus is
back
the
through
land.
history, if we look back through the cycles, I mean, it takes time. We're in the throes of it now, but it takes time for all of the part of humanity that's hanging on to the old
Mhm.
to finally let go, and for it to fall away. The battle is going to go on for a while,
Yeah,
but then eventually, we'll start to reach the higher side of the Aquarian energy.
sure. But I mean, it is reaching the next stage now, isn't it? Now that Pluto and Capricorn is going to be leaving us, and it's going into Aquarius in November, 20th of November. So then that
We
at
just have to
least
go through the shadow
Capricorn,
side first.
yes, well, we're going, yes, we're going through well, we'll still be going through the shadow side, but it'll be another level. And I think more hope will start with Aquarius. We'll have the urgency to know we've got to change even greater,
Yes.
but the impetus will be there then. It's as if, and
Mhm.
Capricorn will have lost its grip. The Aquarian, the Aquarian push then will be fully upon us, and that's just going to get stronger and stronger. And that's the hope. Even though it seems to get worse in some degree ways, it actually is a turning point. That Pluto and Aquarius is a turning point, saying, got to transform now, start now, because
Can't go back.
you can't go back. Thank God. Thank God, who wants to?
Jordyn?
I mean, whenever I look at this chart, look at the south node of Jupiter, it's in conjunct the north node of Saturn in Leo.
Yeah.
So it's pulling in Pluto's ruler and also the sun in Libra.
Mhm.
I'm going to be very Capricorn for just a second here. To me, that south node of Jupiter in conjunct the north node of Saturn is like this segueing off of what everyone's saying, is just this feeling on a humanitarian level of indignation. And then the ruler of that north node of Saturn is ruled by the sun in this chart square Pluto and opposing the moon. This is like where we're being confronted with like where the metamorphosis needs to happen through the imbalances. And
Right.
that's also seen with Venus sextile Pluto. It's like trying to get us to the bottom of like bullshit. Like, you know what I'm saying? With everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And I've been fascinated on thinking about Pluto in Capricorn at that anaretic degree.
Mhm.
I have my own personal reasons too that have kind of confronted me, but it's, Pluto is about metamorphosis and Capricorn is about structures. And for metamorphosis to happen, it's from one structure becoming a new structure. And if you look at all of the lunations as of lately, it's actually trying to get us to do that. And then it's like people are holding on for dear life, and it's that south node of Jupiter, right? The beliefs.
Yeah.
No, this is what we believe. This is how this is known. It's familiar. It's how it's structured. This is what I'm giving meaning to. And
Right.
really, if we were to access the south nodes of Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter in a healthy way right
Mhm.
now, and pull in the north nodes of Pluto and Jupiter conjunct that Mars, we would be restructuring right now in a way that was in alignment with matriarchal law. We would be restructuring through a metamorphosis. Look at this chart. Sag is on the ascendant. We would be starting something. We wouldn't just be bitching about it, right? Like, not, I mean, my
Yes.
Scorpio is kind of coming out, but it's like, I feel like I'm trying to even like challenge people whenever I talk about stuff like this, is like to look at that Jupiter retrograde and Gemini, like the internalized messages that have become self-fulfilling prophecies that are such distortions of natural law. It's why all of this is perpetuating And maybe it's about putting out language that resonates with people in a way that is constructive and not suppressive or oppressive. And I think that's the challenge with these lunations, is trying to do Capricorn naturally, right? Which is about restructuring in a way that's in alignment with natural and universal laws. Saturn and Pisces retro.
Consensus and creates consensus. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, then you've got beautiful Cassandra trining Uranus in this chart. I think of all 6 of us right now talking about these
Donna.
things, giving voice to trauma.
Yes.
And it's not just trauma of humans, it's also trauma of the distortion of natural resources. And I think it's going to take more of us to collectively talk about this, to send that message out. And I'm interested to see what happens when the nodes shift on January 12th, quite frankly, because it's like everything's been highlighted as an extreme and no one's doing anything about it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my
Marty?
take.
Yes, so right.
Jordyn, where's Cassandra in this chart?
26 Capricorn.
Yeah.
So it's, to me, that's this reflection of people trying to speak out and utilize their voice against these social structures, trying to bring up what's happening. And that to Uranus is about like bringing voice to humanitarian efforts that are more, it's about educating people on more natural and timeless laws, which seem to be forgotten and hidden with Saturn and Pisces ruling all of the Capricorn. And it's actually something that's within each one of us. So it's like trying to utilize this in a more constructive way that gives language. We're having this opportunity to give language that could resonate in a way that could be a teaching moment. Jupiter and Gemini retrograde. I don't know. That's just my take. So,
Well, and Cassandra has been traveling with Pluto for months
Yes.
now.
Has it?
yes.
Really?
Yeah. So the change is being demanded. Transformation is being demanded. But it's like all humanity is sick, and we're still dancing in the streets, singing,
Yes.
and I don't want to go to rehab. And I said, no, no, no.
No,
You
no.
know? And basically, the sky is about to fall down, and we're dancing in the streets,
Well, we
with
still
our
have
own
What is
ways.
that about? Daddy says I've got to
Jupiter-
Let's
go.
just kill one more terrorist. Let's just kill one more terrorist, or let's go on with
Jupiter
our
and
old ways.
Gemini.
Well, that's
The
that
Jupiter-
South Node Jupiter in conjunct Saturn and Leo, right? It's like through the indignation that people feel, they're trying to get retribution. Which
Well,
Right.
the Jupiter and
doesn't
Gemini is
do-
also squaring Neptune in Pisces, so
Yeah.
that we're having
Yeah.
to combat a lot of misinformation.
Misinformation. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's beliefs, misinformation. Yeah.
Misguided beliefs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, yeah, go on.
And just not understanding what's true anymore. Everything becomes relative,
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where I
And
think
where do the
people have
lines
to
stand?
dig into
Where
their
does morality
intuition.
stand?
Losing faith in information and in what we see and hear.
Yeah,
But
so
let's look
the
at the good side about that. It's
Jupiter
bringing
and
back
Gemini
our need
retrograde
to
can be
find our own
meeting
compass, in a sense. I'm sorry.
That's what
Yeah,
I was
go
about
on.
to say. Nia, that's Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. In the 7th house of this is finding your own personal voice of authority and being your own teacher through your intuition. Because the truth can only be known through one's intuition. That's
True.
And
As
look
they-
at the asteroid on the ascendant while all this is happening. This is Pallas Athena.
Of
And
course.
she has relation to wake-up calls. I mean, she's the girl who taught the boys how to hunt and make war, in Athens.
Right.
She's the
Right.
great strategist,
Yes.
right? She was better at any of this than any male was.
Yeah.
And she was the one that called the people to wake up and change their ways, in a sense, and rise to greatness.
Yes.
well,
So we
and
need strategy.
Astraea is not in this chart, but it was conjunct Juno and the sun. And Astraea, known in mythology, is the goddess who saw the downfall of humanity. So just even think about that signature in this chart.
And where is
Yeah.
she?
She was the last god, like immortal, to stay on Earth and she ended
Right.
up fleeing because she was so upset of watching the despair of
Mm.
what was going on with humanity and the manipulations and the strife.
That's how
and
we feel.
So yeah, so if you even think about that, this is
And she's
another
right there by
goddess
the
speaking
sun.
to this story. Yeah, she was at 24 degrees during this lunation as well.
I see.
Wow.
So that's why we're feeling that so strongly.
Yes, Marty.
And in a sense, this happened before. You know, these fables are not just idle. They
Yeah, the
have
fall of Atlantis, all of that.
Yeah, it's the cycles. Yeah.
Let's let
exactly.
Marty talk really quick. Marty,
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, what I see is that Pallas Athena rising in this chart that Sue put in, and you're absolutely right that she was the goddess of creative wisdom, and she was also a warrior, and she governed warfare, wisdom, and believe it or not, handicrafts. So
yes.
just like what Nia said, it's so, you guys are saying the same thing over and over again, but on this chart especially, it's especially profound. But wherever we find Pallas Athena, we can think there's the impetus and the possibility for someone to extend a hand over a fence or a gate and says, here's some food, or here's some water, or here's something that you need for your sustenance. People that are of different, that are conflicted, that are of different nationalities. And there's always the opportunity to build and support and create and prepare for peace in times of war. And that's what Pallas Athena is all about. She's a peaceful warrior. So
Yeah,
I
and
really,
wisdom.
and wisdom.
Yes.
And she governs handicrafts like weaving and building and creating and woodworking and, you know, making pottery and making things. And it's
Creative.
really important to understand, like Nia said, that these so-called myths or stories repeat again and again. And Pallas Athena is not about tearing down or destroying or competing. It's all about building up. And I believe we can do it. I really do. It just
Amen.
takes one hand after another.
Yeah. But it is realizing that it is the, as you say, the energy of the goddess. It's Venus. It's the great mother that's coming through, that's now going to get stronger as Pluto's going to Aquarius. So from, you know, from Capricorn. So hopefully, well, it will get weak, but then it's going to hang on for a while. We're not going to see it go straight away, but that is going to get stronger. We need to realize that, you know, the Venusian feminine energy, the lunar energy.
Well, I think the other thing, just like to go back to Estrella, is like she saw the downfall of humanity from the Bronze Age to the Gold Age, like the first one or whatever, in the
Right.
myth, but she was the one who reported evil to Zeus. So she's the personification of justice, and she represents closures. And that
Okay.
is conjunct that sun, which is being squared by Pluto. So there is this dynamic of things are wanting to close in
Yeah.
order for something new to
Sure.
begin
Sure.
through justice, and not justice as
Yeah.
in retribution, but as in natural justice, a harmonization, right?
Exactly. I mean, the frustrating thing is we're not going to see that straight away, but we just need to hang on to that faith, which is Jupiter again.
Yes.
Knowing that is coming in, we just have to maintain that as hard as it is.
Well, and
And just
Jupiter trining that Estrella is about unity and diversity. That
yes,
the pathway through justice is through recognizing that natural law.
yeah, exactly. That it will win through. It's not going to win through overnight. We have to go through the storm that we're going through, and that's not going to end straight away. But we just have to keep going through it.
Marty,
Yeah.
did you want to add something before we move on?
Oh, I just wanted to say that these themes are repeating whatever anybody's saying. I'm just going, yeah, because right now, if you look at Saturn's, let's see, where's Saturn in this chart? I'm trying to find it.
Down here at the
Saturn,
bottom.
okay, Saturn at, can you see my cursor?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay,
Yes.
Saturn at 13 degrees Pisces, and it's moving toward Neptune at 27 degrees. And then
Right.
starting next year, they're going to become conjunct. And then in January of 2026, they will be conjunct. And then and in March of 2025, Neptune ingresses to Aries, which
Right.
I talk about. It's a whole different subject. I have a lecture on that, but Saturn will then be new phase to Neptune on February 21st in 2026. So you talk about new realities and new beginnings. And if we consciously concentrate and come together and speak and live and, you know, promote peace, I really think that we are creating a new reality and we can start to live in peace. I really believe that.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
are seeding the seeds for a new reality and a new world.
Mhm.
And nevertheless, we have to recognize that we are going through the storm. And when we say, wake me up when this is all over, we have to remember we chose to come here. We chose to be through this. We chose to be part of it. And we're needed. We're needed. If there's some hope to be gained, if there's some power to be gained by that fact,
Mhm.
that you are all needed, that we are all needed in our own realms, in our own homes, in our own societies, and with our friends and relatives, we're needed. The
Yeah.
love is needed. The
Yeah.
light is needed. The compassion is needed. The forgiveness is needed
Yeah,
more than anything, you know, on a
Very well
personal level.
said.
Yes.
exactly.
I feel like Saturn and Pisces, especially retrograde right now, like even with people, just personally, I'm seeing so many people being confronted with their own reality and having to. So when I look at people, like just even working with clients and like seeing that perpetuated over and over again, that's speaking to the collective, right? Like even just one person is speaking to a collective energy because it ripples out. And as people are starting to not deny and they're actually confronting the reality,
Mhm.
and oftentimes that is through crisis, right? When the notes switch, that's what we're going to see. And but it's then with there's something about that begets compassion if one has lost that, right? Oftentimes is that what happens is you have to have Piscean faith of being able to go with the Piscean current of the truth of the reality. And I think right now, on a collective level, we're in growing pains and there's people who are more sensitive to this energy. And so it's like, oh my God, but we can't do Capricorn and be like, shove it down people's throats, right? Like, it's like, there's this need to just have compassion.
And
While,
patience.
yes, while
Yeah.
facing the total reality of the truth of what is occurring. And that is a very hard pill to swallow.
Because it's ununderstandable as it is, Piscean and Neptunian. But nevertheless, we need to accept it. We need to
Agreed.
accept that we cannot understand it. We can only in retrospective, and in that also partially as well, you know.
Mm.
Yes.
And that requires humility and patience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marty, you
did-
just need to jump in.
yeah. Do you want to add something here?
As quickly
Where
as
is
I
your
can.
Mercury, Marty?
In
Put some
Aries,
Aries into it.
retrograde.
Okay.
So I shut up and then I shout and then I shut up. But according to what Jordyn said and all of you are saying, you're absolutely right on, because one of the stories that Jeffrey Wolf Green told is, and this was back in 96 and 97 during the Uranus-Neptune conjunction, and I think it was in Capricorn. And he said, it's like a bunch of yuppies go out on a yacht with a bunch of martinis and everything's fine for a while. And then this fog sets in. And think of what Jordyn just said. This fog sets in, they lose their bearings. The compass no longer works. What they have to do is follow the internal compass of their heart, their instinct, their Jupiterian compass. And no, he said, the tendency is to freak out, but if they just knew, if they just went within and knew that there's a compass within, even if you can't see the stars, that internal compass will bring you to shore every single time. And then
Yeah.
he added, it just might not be the shore that you left.
Ah.
It's a new shore. It's a new shore.
Ah.
Or
Yeah.
the one you thought you should be heading into.
Go with the flow. Yeah. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You can't control. But I mean, yeah, basically you have to get used to the fact that we are not in total control. This Pluto and Capricorn trying to control everything and feeling that if we can't, then we are, in danger. Mars in Cancer, in danger, insecure, not safe, because we're desperately trying to control. But it is that letting go, as you're saying, Marty. Neptune sextiling Pluto in Pisces, letting go, let go. Yeah. And trust.
And
There's
that's right,
one
Michaela. We're in incredibly violent times and
Yeah.
troubling times, but we're also in incredibly creative times. And
Yes.
with great chaos, Pisces, that's when creation takes form.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to like say this, like there's this asteroid called Sophrosyne, and right now she's transiting through Capricorn. Today she's at 5 degrees, so squaring the nodes, right? And Sophrosyne was like in the myth of Pandora's box,
Oh,
and she was the personified spirit of temperance and discernment. And to me, whenever I've done my research, it's like one of my most favorite asteroids besides Cassandra, because you can always see, like, it's almost like an octave transformer of Venus and Neptune. There's this dynamic going with that asteroid, okay? And
right.
with her squaring the nodes, even at this point in time during this lunation, and like that, I don't ever say, well, I say resolution node, but I like to say point of determination. I guess that's the Capricorn in me, is that last node, the resolution node, right?
Yeah.
Is the resolution is that south node.
Mhm.
And when we're thinking about this, it's like Capricorn is about, Jeff Green talked about Capricorn. Anyone who has it, the underlying thing is this dynamic of actually wanting to lose control. And me
Right.
being a Capricorn, I thought about that. I'm like, lose control, but it's Saturn and Pisces. It's the need to face reality as an act of losing control. It's relinquishing control. Okay, that's what that means to me. And with Sophrosyne squaring these nodes, with the South Node in Libra, it's the relinquishing the control of an outcome or an expectation is the path forward to Neptune
Yeah.
in Pisces, to
Yeah.
that. And so I just feel like it's really important for me to mention that as well. I talked about it today because I was like, oh my gosh, I just felt, and I feel like it's so pertinent to these energies that are coming up as well, So
Yeah.
that's the last thing I'm going to say. Sorry.
That's good. It is.
So hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, and that's where we are at the moment. We are in that stage of, oh my God, we're free. We can't free fall, but that's what we've got to do. We've got to take the leap of faith, Yeah,
It's
exactly.
finding your canoe or whatever you can and
Yes.
making some Pallas Athene, making
Yeah.
something. And then Pallas Athene is square to Saturn and Pisces to go
Yeah.
with the current, right?
Yes.
It's finding something to build in order to go with the flow,
Yeah.
not to go against it.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because the eclipse that just went by at 2nd of October, 10 Libra, which was the eclipse. I was born on the 3rd of October. So, and yeah, I mean, my Sabian symbol for my son is a canoe through dangerous waters. So yeah,
There
exactly.
you have it.
And it's that, yeah, knowing that you're gonna, maybe go over the Niagara Falls or something, but you're gonna end up upright somehow. You're gonna bob right up there.
Yeah.
But that's what we're doing now. So yeah, that eclipse sort of, I thought, wow, this is really appropriate now.
I've been talking about these times, and I'm like, I liken it to the high dive when you're little and you're like at the YMCA or wherever, and you're watching all these people and you're like, man, that looks cool, but I'm scared as shit. Like, and then
Yeah.
you walk up the ladder and you're shaking and you're like, oh God. And then you look down and you're like, am I gonna die? And then you have faith and you
Yeah.
free fall and you go underneath the water and you pop up. And guess what? You're like, man, Like,
Yeah.
I could do that again. I've done it now. I can do it again. And it's like,
Oh,
those
wasn't so
are,
bad.
that's kind of the overarching, like,
Yes.
kind of, you know, we're about to jump off a high dive and we're about to be washed and cleansed in a truly Piscean type of way. When we pop up again, we're going to be a brand new person, right? We're not
Yeah.
going to be the same person that was scared on the high dive. We're going to come up, we're going to walk up the stairs of the pool, and we're going to feel a lot more secure and trusting ourselves that we can make something. Like, we're going to be okay. That's what I'm trying to convey here.
Where do I
But it's-
sign up?
You got to
Where
jump
do I sign up?
first.
I want to sign up because what I remember is the part I was falling flat on my back or my stomach after the first high dive and not wanting to go back up
Oh,
again
right.
But
for
have
many,
you?
many years. For many,
But you
many years.
did. You did.
Eventually I did, but I think this part is also something we need to mention because there
Yeah.
are going to be times we're going to climb up all the way or part of it
Mhm.
and bring ourselves to jump
Mm.
and get hurt.
Yes.
And we
Yeah.
need to understand that this is part of the journey, this is part of learning, and this is part of development. This is part
Right.
of maturation.
Or deciding not to jump.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, do we have the choice? Do we really have the
Don't
choice?
really, do we? No, we're going
And
No,
on.
if
'cause
we
we get
would have,
pushed.
would we have jumped in the first place? You know, if we would really have the opportunity not to, I think we would be sitting by the pool with our umbrella drinks and you know and cleaning our
Our
glasses.
martinis if we had the
And
choice.
watching people
Salute,
belly
you
flop.
know? Yeah, exactly, exactly. If we really had a choice, you bet, says Jupiter, that's what we would be doing, you
But
know?
that's why the universe is in charge, not us, because
Yeah.
Great Spirit knows better.
Yeah, because we
Gotta
would never
go.
do anything.
No, we
Robin,
wouldn't.
didn't you want to say something before? I feel like you want to say something all the time and you.
I don't remember right now.
Oh,
What you said was very succinct, though. You know, you said that about Jupiter in Pisces and letting
Yeah.
go. Exactly, and trusting, because that's what it's about.
There's an image coming up. I can't remember the story exactly though, but it's like it's how if you're in that raging river and
Mm,
you don't want to cling to the side. You want to like go with the flow.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
You can't fight the current.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want to lay on your back, you want to float, and you want to protect your head and keep on going.
Right.
Come on,
Actually,
Remy.
there's a film with a recent one with Sandra Bullock, you know, Bird Box, I think it's called. I don't know if you guys have seen
Right.
it. Really good story about, you know, them having to be blind because this alien monster has
They
taken over.
lose all their senses, right? In
Yeah,
that
so
one?
they have to use their senses, not their eyes. They can't take the blindfolds off. But then she ends up in a canoe in the raging waters with two kids with her, trying to survive, and and not being able to see. So it's the most the worst it could possibly be, where you're in the raging flood taking you along, and yet you must use all your other senses. Very
Saturn
good.
and Neptune and Pisces.
Yes, that's exactly
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I feel like almost like right now, I don't know if you've ever been in a car crash or like I can even remember falling off of something when I was younger. And Capricorn to me, like Pluto and Capricorn can almost, especially at this degree, it's almost like when things are going around you and you have to develop your senses in that moment, time slows down, right? It's like you're able to, oh my gosh, I feel like we're in a space of time is slowing down and we're having to rely on our intuition and our senses right now in the present moment, because when Pluto moves into Aquarius, it's going to be the antithesis of time slowing down, right?
Yes, like rocket fuel.
Yeah.
It's all
and
go. Yeah.
I'm flowing with that depiction, but imagine a car crash, like you said. It's everything going very fast. Everything is accelerating, but it is going almost
Slow.
standing still for you. It's like you see things and feel and perceive things in very slow motion, but things are really accelerating all around
But you are ultra aware. Actually, when Saturn was last Pisces, actually that's squaring my moon, because I have the moon in Gemini at 13 degrees. So I actually had a car crash. I couldn't believe it, I know. But it's exactly what you just said, Jordyn. It was as though, and I actually, I somersaulted at least 2 times. I think it was 3. But so I was in a Jeep, thankfully, and I had my belt on, thank God. I could be dead or very seriously injured at least. But I had my belt on, it helped me secure. And as I was going over and over, I was thinking that it was like time had stopped. And I was thinking at the time, okay, I'm all right. I'm not budging. So I knew I wasn't going to be hurt, even as I was going over. And that was just what was in my mind. Okay, I'm steady. I'm all right.
I think whenever Pluto re-enters Aquarius and it's ruled by that Uranus and Taurus still retrograde at that moment, that's where I think that people are going to have to learn how to work with inertia while things are speeding up.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because it's the acceleration of the Uranian age, you know, it's exponential. It's about letting go of your grip of understanding everything all the time, you know? It's just
and then relying on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the universal, great spirits, the universal mind that, is just there all the time, guiding you and just learning to trust it, which is, not instinctive, but that's what we have to do. We have to make it instinctive, work with it until it is.
I think it's recovering the instinctiveness.
Yes, that's what's happening.
Getting back in touch with that.
Yeah, that's what we've lost, and that's what we have to remember, and that's what's coming back.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. I just got a message from somebody because I made a comment that people voting for Trump are going to be in for a rude awakening if he wins. And somebody says, I don't even believe in it. It's part of the matrix. Surprisingly, I even want Trump to win.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, before we go into the subject, are we going into who's going to win the election in the US?
Yes. Let's play it on the line.
So, okay, so where do we want to go with charts? Do we want to do the Sinwar part of it before we move on, or shall we just?
I didn't know. I didn't know that he was part of the U.S. elections.
No, he's not. That's what I'm saying. But he is.
Yeah. Whatever you go, I'm flowing along with whatever you go.
Okay. Well, actually, the next chart I had was Kamala Harris's solar return was right after the full moon.
Yes, exactly.
And she is kind of plugged. She and Trump are both plugged into Sagittarius Gemini in a number of ways. It's not as obvious in her chart, but she had a well, this is not her birth chart. This is her solar return.
Solar return.
Yeah. So I think the interesting part of the solar return is that full moon was almost mirroring her natal full moon. She was she was born with a Aries moon and Libra sun. So the full moon kind of mirrored her natal chart.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The thing is when we see these things,
a horrible vision. I just had a horrible vision. Has nothing to do with astrology, and I hope it would never come true, that Trump would win the U.S. election, and that Kamala would inherit him in office after he is killed in some way.
That's not how it works. It would go to his VP.
Right.
Which is
right.
worse.
I know.
Unless it's contested and the I can't remember, the House and the Senate choose the vice president.
Whatever it is, I hope it would never come true.
Yeah, right.
But,
yeah, but what I was just going to say is when we look at all of this, when we look at all of the indications in the charts, are they pointing to a popular vote? Are they pointing to who's really going to win, or are they pointing to the outcome of all of this? Because they are not all one and the same.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's it. It's not the same. I mean, it's not like someone's going to have a great victory, and this is a very different stage we're in. You know, from 2020
Yes.
it started, and now we're 4 years later, and it's intense now. We're right in it. We're in the eye of the storm. And so
Yes.
that's what we're in. So it's not a normal election. It's like, okay, what actually fits in? What is the result that fits in with what's happening? And what is happening is we are in the eye of the storm. And so it's like, it's not going to be a joyride for whoever wins. It's not like winning.
Yes.
And it's not like, but who is most, I mean, actually it's hard to choose between them because they both have such similar aspects that are being transited. They both have full moons, for God's sakes, in air. I mean, and fire. It's weird.
Yes.
So
yes. And Kamala had a full moon eclipse last year in
right. Yeah,
Sagittarius
sure.
and Gemini,
Cool.
right?
Of course. So it's so it's weird. It's like but they are showing similarities in that. So it's as though whoever is going to win will be in the thick of it. Whoever loses might be glad they didn't win, in fact. But they will still be there because they'll still
Isn't
be the,
that true for every president?
yeah.
Except Bibi. Except Bibi. Maybe because
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
it's
sure.
like a pig in shit. Excuse all pigs.
So,
Okay.
Will
okay,
deception win?
moving, through this, this was the next chart I had
Yeah.
up here, and part of what is what whoever wins will be inheriting is the potential of World War III, because we've got wars on all different fronts, and the reason I put this chart in is that Sinwar was killed the day of the full moon.
Mhm.
And he has, his natal charts, and it's a noon chart, but he has,
Mhm.
sun in Scorpio at 5 degrees. And then he also has a progressed Mars in Leo retrograde, although, the current Mars won't hit it. But it's like all of these things that could be set off
Yeah.
afterwards are,
Sure. Yes.
are part of the equation. So I don't want to dwell on this one.
But all that, Leo Aquarius there, my God, with Saturn and the nodes and Mars. Oh, wow.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. And
Squared-
the other thing was that
squared by the sun.
yes,
Scorpio. Wow.
his nodes by progression moved into Cancer and Capricorn, and so
Really?
Pluto was on his south node when he was killed.
Wow.
And then this Jupiter in Pisces, I noted because if we move to the previous lunar eclipse, Saturn was at 0 degrees Pisces right here, with karma at 1 degree.
Right.
And
right.
I noted this: Mars and Mercury were conjunct at 10 degrees, 11 degrees of Scorpio. The sun, this lunar eclipse was at that same 5 degrees of fixed signs, square Pluto.
Yeah. So in other words, it makes no difference that he was killed. In fact, it just goes on, and
Yeah, it's just the connections. I mean, it's just part of the equation, I guess, is what my point was.
Get the
And
ball
then,
rolling. Part of it.
I mean, and then that 10, 11 degrees Scorpio is reflected here in, Hamas was founded with Mars conjunct Pluto in 1987.
Right.
At 10, 11 degrees
In Scorpio.
Scorpio. Yes.
In the 8th house, well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun all around. I mean, that's joy.
And
for you.
look at this Jupiter.
That's optimism, love, romance,
Yeah.
utopian values,
And
seeing the
But-
good of mankind.
just to bring it up,
That fills you up with hope, you know?
The
Trump's
death machine.
Trump's Pluto's at 10 degrees Leo, so
That's
that's
that
good.
it is. Yep.
Yeah, so that's another thing that sort of makes,
Yeah,
but-
and look at
By the way, this
eclipses.
Mars-Pluto conjunction,
yeah,
it's on Sinuar's natal moon.
of course.
It's on Sinuar's natal
Yeah,
Neptune, and very close to his sun as well, you know? So yeah,
sure.
he was born into this job. And apparently he died.
Well,
because-
everybody was, yeah, as you say. I mean, and if we were looking at Netanyahu's chart and yeah,
Mm. And Trump's and
everyone.
Putin's.
and
Yeah.
Putin. I mean, Putin's Venus is at 11 Scorpio.
I'm worried about the Prime Minister of Ukraine, about Zelensky.
Yeah,
Really?
I've
Yeah.
got his chart in here too. Shall we
Yeah.
just go ahead and look at that? Because I mean,
Very quickly, yeah. Let's do
between that, I mean, I've got that toward the end of, so let me just stop the share and get the,
I mean, I was watching the BRICS summit today,
Mm.
which is, led by Russia and China, Brazil, India, South Africa, South America, Argentina. No, Brazil, no. Right.
It's-
Anyway,
yeah.
India. And they're launching the BRICS big time now. They're really pushing it. So they were having a huge summit, and the head of the United Nations was there and everything. So it was like a big deal. And Putin was making this long speech, but it's like he's turning it round. He's trying to seem like the good guy now. It was just the most peculiar thing.
He always does that though.
No, but I've never
That's
heard
what
him do
this
that.
summit is for.
I've never
That's the
heard him do
answer
that.
to
It was
NATO in
like,
the West.
yes,
What
but he
they're
was
setting
saying-
up is a financial system that doesn't include,
yeah.
that doesn't exclude the banks of the Russian Federation, which were
course,
excluded
it's-
internationally by the SWIFT system.
Yeah, because it's against the dollar, and it's they're gearing it to bring the dollar down, frankly, and the dollar actually is wavering, because BRICS is actually getting stronger already. Gold is going up, and it's backed by gold, and so they have been very canny. Him and Ping are so crafty, and I'm afraid our politicians aren't very up there. None of them are. I have to say, so it's like, but it's so outrageous now. The speech he made was like, they're the good guys now, like human rights. He was talking about human rights and about countries determining their own fate, and he was doing the whole spiel of everything that's completely the antithesis of what Russia's, the USSR stood for.
That's what Trump does.
Yeah,
That's what
thing.
everyone
Can you
does.
just-
That's
can
what
we just say this
everyone
is
does.
what-
They're all
can we
doing
ju-
it.
Can we
But I
just
have-
say this is what demagogues do? It's
Yes,
like demo
Exactly, and
of a
have been
demagogue.
doing since the dawn of time, and will be do. Will
But
do
it's
till the end of
extraordinary.
the
Now it's on a scale. I don't think. I think
Can
we're
I
gonna
can I
on a
share
scale-
something from like as we were talking about this? I
Netanyahu.
just put up Yehia Sinwar's chart on my own computer, and can I show you something? Can I share something
Yeah, please, yeah.
just for a second?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm sharing.
Hey, you guys,
I
I'm
needed
gonna
to-
jump off of here to go get my kiddos, but
Oh no, okay, but that
I
was
also
great.
have to use the restroom beforehand. But I
Thank
wanted
you
to.
so much.
Ah,
That was
well,
Thank
brilliant.
you guys.
It was great seeing you, Jordyn.
You
you.
too, Nia. I'll see you soon. Okay.
Yes,
Bye, you guys.
Take care.
thanks for joining us, Jordyn.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That was great. What?
Okay,
Jordan-
Nia, you should be
Yeah,
able
Nia,
to.
yeah.
Yeah. So look, this is Sinuar's chart, right? October 29th, 62, near Aza, Khan
Right.
Yunis to be exact.
Right.
This is his solar arc directed chart.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, if we talk about the day that he died, that was the 16th, just to look at it for a second, we can see that. Oh, wait a minute. Let me pull this back to the 16th.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. We can see
Yeah.
that Mercury was just going over his natal sun.
Can you
Then he was
you
killed.
enlarge that, Nia?
Isn't this is
It's
the
not
most-
full. It's not full screen.
it's not full screen. Let me stop this share and reshare this with you. Can you see this full screen right now?
It's coming in. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Good,
Yeah.
good. So we can see that Mercury is just over his natal sun the day that he was killed. We can
Wow.
see a kind of conjunction of the the transiting sun over his natal Mercury as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
we can see Chiron just across with the moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if we take the I don't see what's hidden here a minute. Yeah, Pluto hovering, you know, on the
Yes.
29th degree there, but across from Mars. But if we take the solar arc and we put it with transits, we could find out that the north node in the sky is just over the progressed Saturn.
Saturn.
And the nodes were exactly reversed to the degree.
Right.
Yeah.
To the degree.
Wow.
For me, as an astrologer that studies death charts, this is encouraging because from my own research about death charts,
Mm.
like famous people death charts, if you will, inheritance, if the legacy of this person would have been successful, if the evolutionary endeavor that this
Yeah.
person tried to bring through would
Sure.
have been successful, the nodes would have been aligned. And
Right.
if the person's work has been left unfinished and so unfruitful in a way, unsuccessful in a way, they would be reversed.
Mm.
That's what I found out from my previous
Oh,
research.
really?
We could look at it. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So in this sense, this is encouraging. We could see the sun going over his progressed Uranus. We could see again Mercury over his progressed Pluto.
Yeah. Right.
And of course Hades, Pluto going over his progressed Venus.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some signs there
Yes.
for this ending, if you will, with Saturn on the north node in the sky. Progressed Saturn on the north node in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Stopping my share. Thank you
Trying
for this.
to. Yes. Very. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Back to Zelensky. Sorry for this. I just wanted to
Okay.
share.
So,
No, it's good. As you say, it's all sort of interweaved into it all. Yeah, it all tells us something about it.
Whenever I see Saturn involved, in a way it's alarming, but in the other way it's calming because you know
Yeah.
that whatever needs to happen will. That
Will happen.
there's
True.
no cheating the law.
Timing, divine
Nobody
timing.
evades
Yes, the
the
great timekeeper.
Nia,
yeah,
why are you
exactly.
concerned about Zelensky's chart?
Hmm. Oh yeah.
well,
Right.
I'll set it up.
Look,
I'll set it up. What I saw and why
he's a
I
torch.
included it.
Yeah.
He
Wow.
has
Torch.
Mars
He's
at
a torch of hope.
0 degrees Leo retrograde.
Yeah.
It rules
Sure.
his midheaven.
Yeah.
His Mars is out of bounds.
Yeah.
He has the Sun and Venus at 5 degrees Aquarius, so
Yes, of course.
6 degrees Aquarius.
Right.
I
And
see this war becoming more personal when it comes to head of state. I see Israel eliminating all these heads of organizations. I see Iran trying to eliminate the prime minister of Israel. I see Trump being targeted a few times. Who knows how many threats,
No kidding.
are going quietly. So I think, that heads of state like Mr. Putin could think that this would be a great advantage if they could finally take this clown down, which is a beacon of hope for many people, It's like a sign of the resistance.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, with Pluto going toward, I mean, obviously early fixed again, like we were saying, Pluto is going to go into early fixed, and that's going to sort of, it's going to pick up all of this. And Mars right now, you're going to have Mars
And
is going to be, yeah.
He had his Jupiter return too.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
He will. Yeah.
I mean, the fact is, if Trump does win, it's likely he's going to have to do a deal with something.
Well, he's going to try and force one.
And
Well,
again, talking
Putin.
about the early degrees of Leo, look at his natal Sun, look at his natal Venus, and look at his Mars.
Mhm.
Yeah, Chiron as
Yeah.
well. 1 degree
Well, going to be
Taurus.
transited by Pluto.
God. Oh my God. Yeah, Taurus, Chiron's going to get it first. So, well,
Yep.
not, no, Mars is.
Mars will get it first.
Mars will get it first. Square, Chiron, T square and a T square. Oh, blimey. Yeah,
Never easy.
it isn't. And it does make you think he is going to have to, it's going to have to be wound down, because America is going to be fighting. I mean, if this escalates, and it's looking like it's escalating to some degree at
I'm
least.
afraid I agree with you.
Yeah, then there's no way that America is going to go for the Middle East. It's not, Ukraine is not going to be the,
I am afraid that at one point America is going to have to defend itself.
yeah.
It's going to be attacked directly.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Like
what,
I'm trepified by the day, talking about a new reality, talking about, this Piscean Neptune Saturn conjunction coming up in 26, this new truth that, we could elusively grab into our utopian values, but we need to understand that seeds are only seeds. They're not fruiting trees yet.
No, they take
There's
time
still
to grow.
yes, there's so much road to thread
Yes.
till
True.
that day comes, if it comes at all, and right now it's a storm. Right now it's a flood.
Yeah.
And these symbols have always been connected for me also with depression,
Mm.
with grief and depression, in a
Cool.
sense. This
It's
Marty, you're muted.
Pisces Capricorn conjunction, in a sense. And I'm afraid that this is when it's going to truly escalate.
yeah.
And the new reality is going to be when the US and Russia are going to go directly into the fight, because right now
Well,
they're utilizing their proxies, whether
Yeah.
it's Israel or Hezbollah or Iran or whatever.
I mean,
Whoever
on the hopeful side, it looks like, China and Russia and China and, Iran, and they're, hoping to, they're going the financial route, which, although that's going to be tough, because obviously if the dollar starts sliding, that's not going to be great for, the West, which is all of us. But, it's better to go the financial way, even though, that's going to be dreadful too, but better than the conflict. So, I mean, weirdly at the moment,
You're muted, Marty.
I wish that you are right, Michaela.
well, I hope so. I mean, that's why, I mean, weirdly at the moment, it's the better fight. Russia and China's is the better fight than America's getting sucked into this, and Israel's getting sucked into this. And it's as
We're all
though,
getting sucked into this.
and we're getting sucked in
The
with
whole
it,
world.
like in a huge whirlpool. But it looks like the BRICS people are trying, BRICS lot are the East and are
It's
trying
East versus West. It's North
Yes, it
versus
is.
South. in a
Yes,
sense.
exactly. The
Us
East,
versus them.
yeah.
So
But they're
could-
trying to resist it with the currency financial fight, but we're getting sucked into the conflict one. So, which isn't great. I mean, none of it's great, but if you, my God, if you get the financial slippery slope as well as the conflict, and then we're going to have the oil problem too. We've got the Suez there, we've got the oil, we've got, in 2020, in fact, I was seeing on the financial program, oil futures crashed. Well, now they're crashing now. So, I mean, terrible. The companies mopped up with that. They let it crash. In fact, they helped it. They stoked it.
Well, a lot of that is because we're leaving the earth and moving into air.
Yeah. Dreadful. I mean, but then, so it seems like the corporations and they're all making money out of what
That's true.
terrible, terrible downfall of what are they doing? They just simply don't care about anything but greed and making money. And that's what
Right.
we're seeing. Now we have to see that and it's always been like that way. I mean, it was like it in World War II and World War I, all a camouflage saying it was anything else. So what we're seeing now is the truth of that. It's being exposed. And that's the shadow. We are seeing the shadow, which is greed. Greed.
Greed.
Pluto on
Greed.
its
That's the correct
Pluto on
term.
its south node in Capricorn.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
and now at the anaretic degree, it's all
Yeah.
coming up and
Yeah.
coming out. And
Isn't that
Yeah.
the bulimic degree too? I'm joking because it sounds like
Yes.
anorectic.
Anorectic.
You know, so
Bulimic's a good, it's a good image.
yeah, so it's all
Yes,
coming up. It's all coming up.
it's all coming up.
I was
It's up.
thinking of
It's coming
vomiting
up.
myself.
It's gonna, yeah.
Oh my God.
Humanity's, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So,
coming up.
so
Yes.
how can we, okay, so my thought is that there must be something that we can all do to change this, because I don't, I've been watching all of these videos and I keep thinking, that people are pointing out all of the stuff that's happening, but not offering any solutions of how we can do something about it.
Well,
And
it's what Marty and Jordyn were talking about, and Robin, and Nia, all of us,
I
is
have a
about
few advices.
it's got to happen. It's like the Negrido of alchemy. We are in the process of Negrido, and that's the putrefaction, it's the mortification, it's the boiling down, and that happens, and that's when you see the shadow. The shadow is revealed at the same time.
I would say cling strongly to your values and morals. Search your hearts right now.
yeah,
And civil disobedience is the guideline, civil nonviolent disobedience, following your own heart, knowing that you need to conform to national laws, but there are higher laws that you need to conform to first and foremost, that you are allied with first and foremost. And these are laws that are universal to everyone that is alive on this earth
that's
at this moment.
Pluto
And
Aquarius, universe.
At the end, that's what unifies us in a sense. But
it's doing it in a
dynamic line.
platonic way. This is Pluto, and it's the opposite to where it was in that chart. I don't know if we've got it, the chart for World War II, when Pluto ingressed Leo. What we're getting the last ingress into Aquarius now, and it's sort of like an exact mirror image of the events that led up to World War II, when Leo actually ingressed Pluto ingressed Leo.
I have it if you want.
For the last time in June 1939. And then that was sort of on the road then to World War II. Not that World War III is inevitable, but we're in World War III anyway. It's like we agreed before.
Yes, it's already happening.
We're trying to contain it now. It's like it's breaking out all over the place, but we're in it. But the acknowledgement, the official, and that's what happened in World War II. It was like it officially, so it's like they had to acknowledge there was no going back then. It's like sealed, in September 1939. But it was that when Pluto went into Leo, and now we have got the opposite. So it's quite extraordinary. And then we've got Uranus in Taurus, the same.
Neptune was opposed to where it is now, and it was on the ascendant. So it was a strong player.
Mars, look at Mars.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there was a Mars.
Mars is exactly opposed to where it is right now.
Yes.
Pluto, it's not only Pluto, it's Mars.
It's the weirdest thing.
Both of the gods.
But it's though it is showing us.
They're in this together, the lot of them.
Yeah. But it is showing us the wonderful symmetry of that. Is saying, okay, you didn't get the shadow, as we said last time. You didn't get it before. You didn't get the shadow is not Nazi Germany. It's not one person here or one nation here or it's humanity. It's like showing us when it pops up, it's the shadow of humanity.
Just like in our own lives, when we think we've overcome something and outgrown it, then we encounter it in another level and realize there's more work to be done.
Yeah. And you can't point, you project.
Isn't that the Scorpio theme?
Yeah. But you point the finger, but it's the shadow. So the shadow has come back again. We didn't get it last time. And it was always going to come back. And here it's come back right on time. And because we didn't get it. But
So
right
I would
now,
say we're getting it, but you
Right.
know, like gradually, you know, we
Yeah.
can't get used to the light, like Socrates and Plato said, immediately. We need to be
Look at
conditioned.
it.
So Scorpio
For
is taking us one level at a time,
yeah,
you know, we're
all these
shedding this
years,
onion, you know.
75 to 84 years, we've been saying it was them, wasn't that terrible? Oh, never happen again. And, you know, oh, we've got the bomb now, and now that's, so the whole thing was saying we're the good guys, that was them, that's never going to happen again. Now we've got deterrent, and now we're seeing that all that was a complete fallacy because we did not own it. And that's what happens with your own
We
shadow.
still
If
don't own it, yeah.
you don't own it, it's going to come
We
back.
don't own it as people in our personal lives, you know. I'm not even talking
No,
about national
exactly.
entities and, you know, world politics.
It's
Talking
mirrored in
about
our
personal
individual.
personal
That's where
dynamics,
we
you know.
learn. And that's where the individual learns about the shadow in their personal life, and then they can see it in the collective. And that's why also we are seeing it in our individual lives as well. And if we're seeing it mirrored in the collective. Now, if we start seeing that we see it mirrored in the past, we see it mirrored in our individual lives, we see it out, then we're getting what, you know, Jung talked about, you know, about owning the shadow, and that's the alchemy. So it's the Negrido is the shadow, and it's that process that we're in where we're seeing the shadow now, and we're experiencing the start of Negrido, which is the black sun. You know, it's like the new moon, the solar eclipse. And it's when there is it's dark and you can't see, like we were saying, when with Neptune in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces, you can't see, but you start using your other senses because it's telling you, just a minute, open your intuition, open your eyes, open your heart and see with that. And then you'll find you're being shown. And it's a painful process, especially if you confront your own shadow, and it's painful looking out there and seeing it in the world. Of course, it's painful, but we didn't go through it before. We sort of thought we was totally we just got it backwards. But we were always as though we were always meant to do that. And now, so it's not terrible when you see it like that. It's like, oh God, we didn't see that we got nowhere with World War II, and we thought we'd conquered everything and that we were never going to let evil come up again, but we weren't in control and we didn't know it. Of course we're not, because it's in us. It's in the individual, as you just said, Nia. It's in the collective, and it has to be seen and felt and experienced. And then once we own our shadow collectively and individually, we don't project it onto others. And then war does not happen because we've owned our shadow. We don't say it's you, it's them. That's the whole point, and that's the hope that we're going through. That's what we will experience with Pluto in Aquarius. We will own our shadow and start getting that Aquarian, realizing we are the world, we're a global village. We can't point our fingers at each other because we will destroy everything if we continue to do that. And that's why I don't think we will, because we're doing it. It's happening. And as terrible as it is, it's meant to happen. And
I noticed that at that point, Pluto was square the nodes. And now, you know, here we are on the opposite, you know, with Pluto on the Pluto polarity point.
yes,
Yeah.
just exactly a mirror image.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely holding a mirror. And
Yeah.
Marty has asked if we can look at Zelensky's chart again.
Oh, yes, yes.
And, did you want to show something else, Nia, or
Yeah, so I'm stopping the share. Just this is the mirror image that we were talking about. Look at the sun today, back then.
yeah.
Crazy.
Yes.
That is crazy.
It is
One of those, you can't make this up, right?
Exactly.
Look
Who
at the
knew?
moon, Pluto, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Extraordinary.
for us evolutionary astrologers talking about hidden things.
Yes. As you say, the polarity point. Yeah, Robin. Yeah, exactly. Wow. I mean, we could say, isn't this great? But hey, that's the wonderful thing about astrology. You say, oh my God, this is terrible, isn't it great?
Right.
You know,
Both gratifying and fills you up with hope that this is not arbitrary, that this is not all in vain, all the suffering we're going through.
exactly. That's the point. Knowing that is so valuable, that it is not arbitrary, that it is not in vain, that it does have meaning. And that's what the world so needs now. It needs meaning, that's been lost. Except that, thank God, with astrology and, unfortunately, there's fanatics giving meaning, like, the Zionists and the
Right.
evangelists in America and well, all over the West, but particularly in
Everywhere.
America. Yeah, everywhere.
It's Jupiter and Gemini, and
They are in the government.
square Saturn in Pisces.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Neptune,
3 times.
Pisces.
Well,
Yeah.
and Saturn approaching the
And
conjunction.
horrifically, I hadn't realized that their beliefs, actually, they want the apocalypse. They want Armageddon to
Wait, Michaela, as a Zionist, I must protest.
Oh, you
because
are a Zionist. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
people are supposed
Well,
to
I'm
have,
talking about the evangelists anyway.
they're extremists in charge
Yeah.
of the Israeli government right now. But that's
Yeah, who
not
are
the-
you probably using that? For
Zionism.
their own ends.
You believe that the Jewish people are entitled to a national state in this
Of
world.
course. Of course.
Of Zionism, and that this state is the land of Israel.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
the idea of Zionism.
Sure.
That-
But
that alone.
it's been twisted and used by governments and yeah.
This
It's
ban
like
is
everything
out.
else.
The siren coming up. Just
Oh
know-
God. Really? You're right. Gotta go. You're right. Okay. Yeah, that's it. It's being just like Christianity was used, just like religion's been used, just like Zionism has been used. But now these masses who've got hold of it and it's being used to bring to think that Armageddon is the way to go and the apocalypse, and it's as though now this prophecy is from the Bible that was misinterpreted. It's all misinterpretation, because the Bible was actually meant to it was meant to
It's meant to control people.
well, yeah, but it was misinterpreted, because a lot of the
Yeah.
Bible was meant to actually take forward the Hermetic prophecies, to actually tell people about the cycles and the zodiac and astrology.
Right.
But then the church, Rome got hold of it, and that was
Right.
that. So
Right.
since the age of Pisces began, or just before it, that they've been screwing around with it, and ever since, in this age of Pisces, misinformation. Which we're seeing now, that's mirrored as well. This information is growing. Now we've got the internet and we've got media, which is good on one hand, bad on the other. We're seeing that to an enormous degree, the propaganda and the misuse. But we're seeing the misuse of belief and misinterpretation. And it's about cutting through that to the truth now, which is happening as well. I mean, it is, with astrologers, certainly. But that's bound to, as astrology is getting so big, that's another thing that's filtering through now. It's filtering through to the individual, to the masses on a huge extent. And that's great, because that starts to cut through those, misinterpreted beliefs. So it's happening, but it's though first we've got to go through that too. The erroneous beliefs that are just astounding, but are so dangerous. I mean, I can believe when I went into that about, Armageddon and about the apocalypse. It hadn't occurred to me that was part of the second. I haven't looked into that greatly in the past, about the second coming and of course, that is the book of Revelation, which I've been looking into, is because that was meant to talk about alchemy. In fact, that was meant to talk about the cycles and the changing of the ages. But it was misinterpreted again, because the Romans put it forward to misinterpret it as this apocalypse that was going to be the end of the world and the second coming. And it's all been lied about. And so we're seeing that at the same time as everything. We're just getting it all at once, but it's all the alchemical process. But as long as we can realize that, oh my God, the more you realize about this, you think, oh no, they're they're actually believing that, and they want World War III because they think it's mad. It's actually insane. It's like that red, the red heifer. Nia, about the red heifer. It's mad, thinking there's this red heifer that's perfect.
They
That's going to
are
be
sacrificing these red heifers. They actually grew the red heifers that were foretold by the prophecy. There's now red heifers alive in Israel that they are bringing up to the Temple Mount and sacrificing. And
they're practicing, are they?
But it's in charge of, of order in the Temple Mount are not letting them sacrifice. And then there are clashes between Palestinian, people who come to pray and these extremist settlers who come to sacrifice the red heifer on Temple Mount,
based on beliefs that were lied about 2,000 years ago. It just doesn't make any sense.
The police of internal security in Israel, the Minister of Internal Security in Israel, is one of these people that sacrifices.
Really? No.
Yes. As a reporter in the past, I interviewed him like 3 different times. He is wanted by the Israeli FBI as a terrorist in the past. This the Minister of Internal Security is basically the guy that the chief of police reports to.
Oh my God.
It's a farce.
Yeah.
It's frightening.
Yeah. And mad red cow disease.
And he is the guy that threatens Netanyahu again and again.
Yeah.
When Netanyahu is, listening to Biden or is willing to consent on something, that he's going to walk out of his government and the government is going to fall. So basically, the stability of the Netanyahu government relies on this extremist.
No. Oh my God.
Extreme right settler, that is wanted by the Israeli FBI.
But you see, that is the power of belief. It's like these beliefs are so entrenched, so emphatic. That's what the mind can do. That is the power of the mind negatively, to hold a belief like that and say this is 2,000 years old and this is written, so this is prophesied, and then hypnotize people, brainwash them like a cult to think that this is the truth. The power of that is enormous, and it
That's what's going on here.
Yes,
it's going on here too.
And that's what actually can produce the results. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, as you're saying, Robin. It fulfills, of course it does, because you've self-fulfilled it with your own minds, because you believed it so strongly. And that's what we're seeing. And that's the other thing we're seeing about this, that the mind is so powerful that it can do this. And that was the ancient teaching, of course. That's the Hermetics taught us that way thousands and thousands of years ago, that the mind does produce reality. So if we think, we believe that strongly, we are going to materialize it, and that's what's happening. And that's why it's so important that those
Every
of us
thought is a seed.
That's another scorpionic shadow. That's another Plutonian shadow, because in a sense, if we talk about Scorpion as sense of desertion and betrayal.
Exactly.
Okay, so a couple of things. We're kind of getting off on some tangents, but before we, I know Marty wants to say something, but before we do, I don't know what the red cow thing is. So if you could briefly, tell it us all what
you want to say, Nia, what it is.
Go ahead. I'm not.
Well, it's just one of these. There are quite a few. How many are there of these signs of Armageddon? Sorry.
Armageddon, right?
Yeah, of Armageddon.
One of the signs of Armageddon.
Oh, okay.
The second coming of Jesus Christ, and the Jews have to accept Jesus Christ as well. That's one of the things they have to do before Jesus Christ comes back. I mean, it's insane.
You accepted them a long time ago.
Okay, all right.
Let's not go there. But,
okay, so Marty had something that she wanted to. Well,
so it's one of them.
She wanted me to put Zelensky's chart back up a
okay.
while ago. So Is that what you wanted to talk about, Marty?
Thank you, Sue. Real quickly, I would like to ask Nia what she sees in this chart. Look at the south node in Aries retrograde, near that 0 Aries point. And of course, the transiting north node right now is at 6 degrees Aries, and it just
Yeah.
stationed for about a week. So I want to ask you, what are you seeing about this south node of Zelensky at 7 degrees Aries
But
that is being affected by the north node in the sky at 6 degrees Aries right now, stationed direct?
thank you for noticing this, first of all, Marty, because this connects to what we talked about before. When it comes to exit points that we all have, and I believe that we all, consented to before we came here, and I believe each one of us has multiple exit points through our lives. But when it comes to statistics, people tend to leave when we are near our solar return and when the nodes are reversed or coordinated, aligned.
That just happened with my
So
ex.
these are sensitive
Oh, really?
times. These are
Really?
sensitive times in these senses that the gates are open.
Right.
These are, if you will, agreed exit points. Evolutionary speaking, this is, what
Yeah.
which we
Right.
already,
And that can be square too. Yeah, sure.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and these are turning points in a
Yeah.
way,
Mm-hmm.
for the general story of history. Again,
could it-
what the light that this person wanted to bring, or darkness, did
So
it
are you
come
thinking
to shine
that,
on?
that Zelensky could be sort of under that sort of threat then?
I think it's a sensitive time for him. I think
Yeah,
he's
sure.
it's a
like
turning.
if I was his personal astrologer, I would tell him to
Yeah.
really take care now, especially with these planets, the Sun and
Yeah.
Venus and Mars, at sensitive points right now as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a turning point, that's for sure. I'm looking at it, thinking it could be for the better or for the worse, and it is a sensitive point. It'll only be stationed at about 6 degrees Aries for about a week, and then it's going to retrograde into Pisces, and then the actual nodal shift takes place January 30th of 2025. And I'm hoping that even though this may be a dangerous time for him, so to speak, it could also be a turning point where more of the world backs him, because we may have a new administration that wants to totally include the international waters to help support Ukraine in a totally defensive war, so to speak. So it
Fingers
could go
crossed for that.
either way.
Yeah, for sure. And he is going to have a exact Mars return. I mean, he's going to have Mars in the condition that it was in his natal chart, returning.
Opposing Pluto.
Yeah, with Pluto. Yeah, with Pluto over here, approaching his sun and Venus, which
Yeah.
I mean, that's, and like sitting right on the cusp of his ninth house,
Yeah.
going from the
Sure.
eighth into the ninth.
Sure.
So it's, I mean, I agree. It's a phew.
Yeah. Well, he's very brave, isn't he? I mean, he knows,
Yes.
obviously, he's always known the risk he's taking. He's courageous. Yeah, that Mars in Leo. It's funny how many have got, I mean, obviously, weird, Camilla has Mars in Leo, Trump has Mars in Leo. There's Mars in Leo all over the place.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch in that, in all of these charts that I that I over prepared.
Oh no, you did well. But yeah, I mean, yes. So it's like you can see it in every chart, can you? This, yeah.
Well, yeah, you can see the this, because this is where Mars is going to turn retrograde.
Yeah.
Over here, and funny, I've got the asteroid Georgia in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
In his chart. Now, I mean, he has been in the US and has, but there is also, the the country of Georgia. I don't,
Yes, yes.
which can signify all kinds of things, but yes, it is amazing that he is so he so exemplifies
Mm.
what's going on, and it's definitely at the top of the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, I did have the Ukraine chart on for a minute.
Yes.
And it also has, it's got a little bit of
Yeah.
correlations in here.
Chiron again at Leo, is that? Oh, is that? Yeah. Oh, well, no, Chiron, that's transiting, is it? No, what is it? No, it can't be.
Yeah, the transits are in the outside circle.
Yeah, sure.
And this was the lunar eclipse, because this lunar eclipse
Chiron, yeah.
was on their Mars,
Mm.
across their
Oh,
Mars.
yeah.
And Neptune opposing it, and
So that's
interestingly, Atlantis up here
yes.
on Mars, which I
Yeah.
think has to do. One thing that I think it has to do with is hubris,
Yes.
and and also
And sinking under the waves.
yeah, and misuse of power, or
Sure.
um,
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
and they have the Mars.
Wow.
The Mars retrograde will be over here, and it will touch their Chiron.
Yeah.
Yes. And as you say, that picks up the north node of America's chart.
Right,
60.
right.
Yes.
And Saturn over here on the
Wow.
ascendant
Oh.
with Pluto, Pluto,
Ay, ay, ay.
oh
my
coming
God.
very close to,
Yes.
it will eventually come to Saturn. And Russia invaded Ukraine when Pluto was, just barely over the ascendant here.
Look at that. That Sears, isn't it, up there? 6 degrees Scorpio in their chart. That's Sears. Sirius?
This yes, right here.
Yes. Well, Sirius, of
Right.
And
course.
here's Atlantis again.
And it's also
Progressed
to
Atlantis,
the
but yes,
grain.
it is Ceres right here.
And grain is a big thing in Ukraine. It's about, it's
Yeah, the bread basket.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's true.
Oh my God. And the big thing about Russia letting the storage, the tankers, the ships through with the grains and everything, that it looks like that's they're sort of negotiating again, because it's like in the winter, there's this threat about that again. I mean, it's like, whoa, you could just see the whole thing. And now it's going to all flare up with Pluto and Mars, and oh, wow.
So, Sue, did you mention that this outer ring lunar eclipse of September 17th, 2024 is right on Zelensky's nodal axis?
No, I don't.
It's on his nodal axis, but it's reversed.
Really?
Oh, okay. So let's.
Yeah.
Actually, it's right on his nodal axis. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at in this chart.
Yes. Yes.
So something's about, we can tell whoever's watching this, something's about to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And pray for the
Well,
best.
yeah. The eclipse was here. I mean, it was.
Unfortunately, I think that's just another thing. As I say, we're going to look at Camilla's and Trump's charts, aren't we, in the election? But it's so close between them. But that's another thing that I think tips it, because Trump obviously is not going to support the war in Ukraine. And that's the big fear now. He's going to pull back on it.
Yes.
Europe scared to death, because obviously that's going to leave Europe to. I mean, Europe should have been building up its defenses. Europe can't get together. That's its big problem. It's got a union, but they can never.
He stated he's going to do. Is that like part of his?
Yes.
What he says he's going to do.
That's because he's always thought NATO. He thought, that America shouldn't be so heavily involved in NATO, and that it should, very isolationist.
He worships Putin, and he will give Putin anything he wants.
Right. Yes. And part of that is withdrawing support from NATO.
He's so arrogant. He thinks he can outmaneuver Putin. He thinks he can deal with him,
Right. But he's in reality his puppet.
Yeah. Being manipulated. So,
But I mean, it might be
know
that
you.
they do have to do a deal, because I think Zelensky's even thinking, he's realizing that this will be catastrophic if Trump gets in, and that really they should try to do a deal with Russia before it's too late. I mean,
well, did you
they've
see
done
that?
a deal before.
Did you
And
see
just give
that
you-
Zelensky wore a T-shirt at a conference that said "Make Russia small again," kind of
God,
making
really?
fun of Trump's.
That's great. Oh, yeah,
Ah, that's wonderful. I'm going to
very
adopt that.
Scorpionic Aquarian sense of humor.
You're right.
Wonderful.
So do we
Yeah.
want to look at anything? We've been going now for almost 2 hours, so we
Do we
can.
want to look quickly at the election? Dare we? I mean,
Yeah. Do you
quickly?
want
Yeah.
which part of it would you like to look
I
at?
still don't understand who's going to win the elections.
Well, we're going to be looking at that next week on
The
the
worst
mid-year
person
update.
possible, because
Yeah, that's
what
true. We are going to do a panel to look
Oh, we are gonna do a
specifically
panel.
at that. But we can do a little preview here. Do you want to look at the USA Sibley chart the day of the election, or what do we got? I can show you.
I sent that to you about Mars. It's interesting that Mars goes in actually on the 4th. I mean, late on the
Okay,
4th.
yeah, we
goes
can
in.
start with that.
November 10th, don't forget, 11 o'clock.
Oh, yes, of course. But I mean, that's after the election. So I thought it might be nice if we just look, we
Yeah,
we dip our
Before
toes
the
in,
election, yeah.
just dive in there and say
Yeah,
what we think.
a little preview.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
You can be obsessive about it, really.
Oh man,
can.
yeah, I know.
I
It's-
couldn't believe it when I started on it. I started on a couple of weeks. I've just been going and going and going, and I could think, my God, there's so
If
much.
only everyone could see what we see.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so much.
Ah,
So okay, there's real quickly, there's the Mars retrograde chart for Greenwich.
And that's December 6th. It goes retrograde.
December 6th. So that's a month after the election.
Yeah.
So let's see what we've got. And then on
the 4th, it
November
goes-
3rd is when Mars conjoins the north node of Saturn, which Jordyn, I wish Jordyn was still here, because she thought that was pretty remarkable, but that's something else that we can talk about it at another
That's
time.
sort of that up. Mars going in opposing, now it's going into where it's going to oppose Pluto next year when it goes back again, of course.
Right. Well, yes. I mean, it opposes
So it's
Pluto.
like it's echoing that already.
To
Yes.
say as the north node of Saturn enters
Yeah.
Leo, it's going to be opposed to
Yeah.
Mars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
makes it significant for the whole cycle.
Yes. So it's sort of kicking it off, and it's doing
Yeah.
it really on
Right.
the top of the
Laying a
election.
fingerprint.
Okay. So here's election day
Yeah.
for Washington, D.C. And
Yeah.
so my observation was, not only is the moon, Venus, and Ceres out of bounds, but Mercury is about to be.
Right.
I looked at a number of asteroids with names of states, and Arizona is, right down here near Mercury. They will conjoin like 3 or 4 days after the election. Alaska and Georgia are down here, where the sun will transit them afterwards. From everything I've read, the results are not going to be posted until at least Saturday. So from Tuesday to Saturday, we'll be wondering what's going on, and meanwhile, the transits will be moving on. Mars, okay, so the time of this is when the poles actually close. The last pole that I could find closes in Alaska, and that would be at 1 a.m. Eastern time. This is set for Washington, D.C. at 1 a.m. When the Alaska poles close. That day, Mars will go from void of course in Sagittarius over here, and move into Capricorn, it will end up at about, depending on what state, but, between 5 and 7 degrees of Capricorn at that point.
Yeah. Right.
I also put, there's an asteroid Ukraina and Israel. So I've got both of those there interesting.
What about that with the red arrow?
And together over here.
Scorpio is
Yeah.
that?
Which one is the one with the
here's
all-seeing eye?
America.
This is America.
This is America.
Yes.
This
How Masonic.
That's pretty interesting that they're all together.
yeah. Within 8 degrees.
Is there a Russia?
I think there may
asteroid?
be. I didn't, I didn't.
Yes. It's probably got its hand in there somewhere.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Putin asteroid.
I think there is. I think there is.
I'm sure. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
interesting if you dug that up
Yeah.
before the next
For my next rabbit hole.
yes,
dive.
yes. But I mean, is that the asterisk at 1 degree Scorpio? Is that sort of isn't that chaos, or is it, have I got that
No.
wrong?
This is Juno.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
Juno. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And which to me indicates all of
Juno's
the social activation that, and
Right.
everything that's been happening. And it's, we're at the crossroads with,
Exactly. That, I think that did bring
It's also the transition of the monetary and financial system. I mean, Juno is about providing sustenance. Juno's full name is Juno Moneta. The word money in English comes from her name, Moneta. And she's all about providing sustenance, continual sustenance. And when she comes into Scorpio, there needs to be a transformation.
Right.
well, and also committed partnerships, which, there are a lot of them on the line at this point.
Total, in a way. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, I did notice it because I did the secondary progressions. I don't know if you have them there about Donald Trump's and Kamala. Sorry.
I do not have that.
Okay.
In this.
But I did notice that Trump's Saturn, his progressed secondary.
Oh, I do actually. I do. Let's let me go. I think I've got Kamala's.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got a lot. Oh, here's Donald Trump's.
Oh.
And I do have singly.
Okay,
I don't have them together, but I do have his chart. And yes, he does have Saturn here.
Yeah, 4 degrees. Leo.
336 of Leo.
Yes. So obviously that's his
and
his
conjunct the north node of Venus.
Yeah, and his progressed ascendant at 3 degrees.
3 degrees Scorpio. Yep.
So he's picking up and his Ceres at 0 degree Aquarius. So he's got a T-square there. Don't know if it's sort of
the south node of Saturn is going to be,
and of course, and Pluto is going to come in that grand cross with his progressed chart, which I thought was very potent. I mean, that doesn't sound too great, but then on the other hand, if it's someone who's got wars on his hand, that sort of makes sense. It's in line with everything. And that's one of the things.
South node of Saturn with Mars
on
his Saturn.
Yeah, because it's so bad, it actually tips the scales in his favor, if you see what I mean.
That's what I'm afraid of. I mean, that's the subtext that we're all exposed to, that if we're going into a third world war, we need a Winston Churchill, not a Chamberlain.
Yes,
in a sense,
exactly, that it's no good thinking peace, because it's not going to happen. We need someone who can guide us through the war. And then one thing about
that's what I'm afraid of most.
Well,
that's what I'm afraid that would tip the things in its favor.
Because it's funny you say that, because he does have some similarities in how his chart goes in 2025 of Churchill. It's like Churchill was eccentric. He was he was a rebel. He was a rogue elephant, really, and he was actually not accepted as being fit to lead in the other part. But when it came to war, that was him. He was built for it. And Trump is a businessman. You know, he's about money, really. He's about making money. He's an isolationist. He doesn't want war. It's true, but I think he realizes that what's happening now and that it has to be stopped. So I think he will do everything he can to stop war and stop it. So that's one thing. Or fight, you know, I don't think he'll fight it if he can. I think he'll try to stop it first.
Yeah,
and
we'll try to stop it by giving everything to the authoritarian dictators.
Exactly. And, you know, I mean, look, here's America right here in his 12th house, conjunct his Mars and Leo. The thing
Sacrifice
is,
us.
it's all about him, for him.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
And
America is him, for him.
in his mind, yes.
And I think you're wrong. I hope you're right, in a sense, because if this war can be stopped, then let it be
Well,
stopped.
that's the
Okay?
weird
But
paradoxical.
I believe he's a bull. Even as a businessman, once he's offended enough,
Yeah.
Yes.
once he feels his honor has been,
I don't know about that.
injured, I
That's all he
think he
cares
could
about.
become militant.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
Or
add
the
to that,
American honor, for that sense.
and add to that
Absolutely.
he is sliding towards dementia. I mean,
Yes.
Well,
clearly he's, you know, losing, as my one friend said,
Grip
the
on
one marvel
reality.
that he had.
I
Yeah.
have a beloved
look, I'm
aunt
not
that
a
is
trumpet.
sliding rapidly to dementia, and she started whistling all the time, which is the eeriest thing, because this is a somber person that has never whistled through her life. You know, it's not like
Exactly. You know, and my mom had
all crazy.
Alzheimer's. And
We know it's all crazy and everything, but it is crazy. We are in crazy times. And
we
what I'm
are,
saying,
but the problem with dementia is that the underlying I think that the person goes back to where they were, who they wanted to be, and never
sure.
were able to
it's an
manifest.
infantile state. It's coming
Because they lose
back
the
to
inhibitions.
something very early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, but I mean, I just think looking at his chart and listening to him, you know, I've been listening a lot. I'm not saying, you know, and unfortunately, these evangelists think he's on their side too. That
No, they think they can manipulate him.
and they think
That's all.
I think they're wrong, but they do believe that, so they're going to vote for him. So you've got that,
and he'll do anything to get elected. I mean, I've heard him say, "Yeah,
sure.
I have to get elected." When people confront him about, you know, things that he said, he says, "Well, you know, I have to get elected." You
The
know,
shadow side of Gemini.
yeah, he is a perfect Gemini. With
But I mean, look at can you put that chart up of Pennsylvania though? I thought that was
shadow of Gemini and Leo.
Because they were saying today, you know, Pennsylvania is, you know, if they win Pennsylvania, either of them, then whoever wins Pennsylvania has won the election.
Maybe.
Over
So
the last 40 years.
you put the chart of Pennsylvania up, and it was just extraordinary.
where was it?
It's somewhere there. You'll get to it.
There it is. Okay.
That's Arizona. They're Pennsylvania. So
Yeah, this chart has a lot.
I mean, look at this chart. I just
There's
couldn't believe
a lot of
What are we
aspects of the
seeing?
progress chart.
I thought it had to be wrong at first. I thought, my God, that can't be right. And you've got Jupiter right there at 21 Gemini, the same practically as it is going to be at this election.
And retrograde.
You've got and retrograde conjunct
On their Chiron, on the progressed Chiron.
Yes.
The south node on their progressed moon.
Yeah.
Mars on their progressed Uranus and natal Uranus.
Right.
Well,
Slow down.
and
Let
there was
me
something
get
else I can't remember.
What was the next one you said on natal Uranus, on something natal Uranus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mars,
Yeah.
the bottom.
Saturn is squaring.
Yeah, right here.
Saturn is at 24 Aquarius, so it's squaring Uranus.
And Mars on the Mars.
Yeah, Jupiter 21
And-
Gemini.
So many conjunctions.
And they were born in a year that had a Mars retrograde. They were born in a year that had a Mars retrograde. And that year was from 27 Cancer to 8 Cancer. So, you know, it was progressed.
Sure. There's Mars at 25, 26 Cancer, which, you know, it's pretty close to, I think Trump has Venus there.
And that's where Mars is today, actually.
Yes, okay.
It's right here.
So you have Jupiter conjunct Trump's sun there. Jupiter is conjunct his sun 21 and his Mercury. But more than that, he was born on a lunar eclipse. Obviously you can see there the node is very close to their sun. So 26, it's at 26 Sag and the sun's at 21 Sag. So the node is there. So I thought, was there an eclipse? And there was. There were 2 eclipses that year. One was in June 14th. June 14th? Ring a bell?
June 14th is Trump's birthday.
Yes. So the eclipse, the solar eclipse that year fell on June 14th, conjunct that point.
But conjunct the south node, right?
Yes, south node. And then the north node was conjunct his moon.
Right.
His moon in Sagittarius. So they had 2 solar eclipses either side of his lunar eclipse, with Jupiter involved in as well at the same. I mean, that is just extraordinary. And I have to say that clinches it for me. I don't see, I hate to say it, I just don't see how he can lose.
Well, Kamala has the same nodes.
I know she has 20, and she has 24 Gemini. She has things that do ring in with it too, but not.
And she also has Mars in Leo.
Yes. But he keeps getting hit exactly with Jupiter, with the eclipses, with everything, with that Mars, his Venus. I think in his Venus actually gets hit by, is it Mars in 2020? Oh yeah, Inauguration Day. Because I always look at Inauguration Day after the election.
Yeah, the only Inauguration Day chart I have is with Arizona, which is the one.
Yeah. Well, Inauguration Day, I think Mars is at, God, I've got it down here somewhere. Inauguration Day. Okay, I'll dig it up.
Here.
I ended up with all these charts, but then that
the south node on the progressed moon in Libra might have to do with preserving democracy.
Yes, yes. So anyway, Inauguration Day, I think Mars might be there. God, I've lost it. Mars might be there. Something is conjunct his Venus, and I think it might be that.
Yes, here.
Mars is conjunct his Venus on Inauguration Day.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stop the share.
Yeah. So I just think again that's another. It's sort of fated, but Kamala is fated. She's going to be even if she doesn't win, if he does tip her, and it looks like I think he will. She's still going to be leader of the Democrats, and so she will be in there in this whole scenario, and you know possibly she will fight the next election too. So it's like she isn't out of the picture, but I just think he's going to pip her, and maybe it's because he's fated to go through this period where it is war. And even in his eccentric, extreme personality, he doesn't want war. He's isolationist. Finances are his thing. He won't want the dollar to go down the drain. He won't want to fight wars. And that could be a good thing right now, because we need someone who doesn't want to fight to stop what's happening, because it needs to stop.
I would rather she would have the helms than he would any day.
I'm not strong enough. I'm not sure she's. He is one thing. He is strong. I think
No,
No,
Mars.
he is
no, he's
not.
not. No, he's
He is
not.
the weakest link that exists.
I know. I can't stand him either. But but
No,
Mars,
he is
well,
extremely weak.
but at the
All
election,
he cares about, he can be bought by a dog. Anybody who will give him attention.
but he won't. He wants America to. He wants him and America to.
Only wants
And we want-
attention.
I know, but
That's
we
all he wants.
want America to succeed.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't
about
care
anything
about
else.
America succeeding.
He is
Absolutely
a sociopath.
not.
He's a sociopath
Yeah,
and he's a psychopath. He
100%.
doesn't care.
He
Yeah, he
doesn't.
Well, he wouldn't want to go down the drain, would he? He is egotistical enough, so he would not want to lose.
His idea of losing is what's going to happen if.
I know it's not popular. I know I'm sticking my neck out.
No,
but...
no, don't. I think this is a good discussion because I think it shows that there are, many sides to the story. But
yeah,
my perception is his idea of losing is Kamala winning and him then all of the lawsuits that he thought he was going to be able to get rid of proceeding and him going to jail. That's him losing.
Well, Netanyahu's done the same thing. He doesn't want to.
Exactly.
I mean, but Netanyahu wants a war to stop him going to jail, but maybe Trump will want not a war, so he won't go
where,
to jail.
like, I agree exactly with Michaela until this point. I think eventually he would drag us into a more radical situation than Kamala would have. I think she's more responsible.
But I think we're in radical situation. We're already in it. We are in a very, very dangerous situation now, more dangerous than it's been since the Second World War beginning.
Yes.
We are in it with Iran and Israel doing this, and then all of it.
His idea of no war is surrender.
I have to disagree. I don't think so. I think he is winning at any cost. And right, he is narcissistic, but narcissists do want to win at any cost. But he doesn't want to go to war. And I think he will resist that because he wanted to pull out of Afghanistan. He wanted to, he doesn't want to go to war. He disagrees with America. He thinks America should be top of the world, king of the world, and making all the money. And
he wants us to be Russia. He wants to be a dictator, and he wants us to be like Russia.
Sure, but a dictator that says, okay, we're going to be successful and we're not going to fight wars. We're not going to be defending anyone else. We're going to be thinking about America. Right now, that's who we need because we need America to survive here. We don't need America.
America's not going to survive if he wins.
I disagree about that. I think because he is so fixated on not indulging in wars that he will not want this to go towards full-out war. He will see that America cannot fight on 3 fronts, which could be what ends up doing if it's fighting.
I'm sorry, he's not that intelligent.
Standing up on the podium already.
Sorry?
I can see him standing up on the podium live, national, already, saying these exact words that you've said right now. I did not want this to go to a full scale of war.
But yet he's in the background now, stirring it all up.
But that's the moment I'm afraid of.
That's
the moment I'm afraid of. Because he could be much more radical than Kamala would be.
I have to say that it's the Zionist lobby in the Capitol building that's stoking it up, and Biden has got too old. He was too weak, and then he thought Biden had this senile, as you say, senility. He had this idea of Zionism, and it threw him. And now he's seeing that he'd got the wrong idea here because Netanyahu has just used Zionism. He doesn't believe it. He's a fox, just like Putin is a fox. He doesn't believe a word of that. It's totally played into his game. So Netanyahu is the one to really fear here. And I think Trump, we need someone who can come up like Churchill, came up against Hitler. We need someone who come. It doesn't matter.
You have the wrong impression of Trump. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know because I've heard him say he thinks the war should stop in
He'll
Palestine.
say
uh,
anything to get
Exactly.
elected.
He would say anything.
He will say anything. He's a Gemini. He's got Mercury square Neptune. He will lie. He has lied. He
Why would he
lied
want to?
30,000 times during his
I know.
time in office.
I know. Believe me. But would he lie about that? Because
Yes,
Yes,
Mercury square
absolutely.
Neptune is a pathological
Weird.
liar. He's
The worst-
pathological.
Oh
He's,
yeah, I know.
he's
Sociopath.
insane.
But this is the worst thing that could happen. America gets sucked into this war in the Middle East,
Oh, I
while
know.
China and Russia and China
It's
are
no war in the Middle
frankly
East,
putting
Kela.
the
It's
dollars
East
down
against West.
and-
It's North against South. It's Russia against the US, basically. What
Yes,
is
it is.
Israel and Iran if
and
not the
China.
proxies of these two great states?
Don't
It's
forget
China
that the
and Russia.
Saturn and Neptune cycle have always caused a dissolution
Exactly.
in Russia
Exactly.
and a fall of
Yeah.
power.
Yeah. I mean, Russia's been involved, in First World War. We've seen the same thing. But it's always the same thing. Yes, it's Russia, it's the West. But now Russia and China have got together, and we have this situation with with Israel and with Taiwan and with Ukraine that could potentially suck America onto three fronts, and that could be disastrous. Especially as Europe isn't. If this Ukraine war isn't going to do Europe any good. It wasn't ready for it. It relied totally on NATO. And now if he pulls out with NATO and pulls back the funds, Europe is going to have to fight that. They're going to have problems because Russia took the oil away. They're going to be dependent on oil in the Middle East. There's going to be a big problem with that. As we saw, the futures are crashing already. And the companies love it, but it's not great for the people or for war. So the whole thing is boiling up to this point where Europe is going to suffer terribly. It won't be equipped to fight Russia. America will be fighting the Middle East. Then China's going to wait for the opportune time to take Taiwan. And there you have it, but they are just waiting. They are watching America and the West, Europe, shoot themselves in the foot. They're watching and they're waiting, and they're building up their currency. And they're going to take it on a financial front. Maybe they think they won't even have to fight a war, because if they can hobble America and the West financially, they won't even have, that will do the trick anyway. But the whole thing, it's all a melting pot where America and the West, Europe, Britain, seems oblivious to what they are doing. And Israel, of course, Netanyahu's at the hub of it. We are all oblivious.
You're right. The whole world is watching.
But we're playing into China and Russia's hands. We're playing into their hands. The Middle East is already swaying towards Russia and China. And they're playing it up. They're saying, we're going to be the big heroes. We're going to make you prosperous. We don't want war. And we in the West, America, it's the empire, it's the Roman Empire. We're all the the empire that
India is also playing into
America inherited from
by the way.
Britain and Europe and everything. We are, but we're going to go down. The way we're going now is going down. And maybe our only hope is someone like Trump, who will at least try to keep America buoyed up, even if it's for his own lust for glory. Even
But
if
the
I
thing
need to
is,
get
Michaela,
off. It's like almost midnight here and I'm bushed.
oh yes,
Trump
I wake
doesn't-
up in
We
6
probably should
hours.
wrap up, but Marty has been trying to say something for a while. So
sorry,
appreciate-
I went off at a tangent there, but I mean, it's
I-
like, let's, maybe it could be a good thing. I'm trying to say.
I appreciate that,
world
Michaela.
war.
I really do. We are listening and we appreciate everything that you have to say. It's vital. But what it all comes down to in this election is children.
Yeah.
Parents and children and the survival of children and our next generation and the sanctity and the safety of our next generation. Trump is not, he does not care. He's pathological. If you know his history, he was abandoned by his mother between the ages of 3 and 5, and he hates women. And he look what he did to the Hispanic children. I'm not trying to maneuver anyone. I'm just saying this comes down to the children. And
I'm not saying he's a great. No, absolutely. I agree with you. I'm not saying I've been watching Trump all along and thought, oh my God,
he's a fascist.
Well, I'm not sure he's a fascist. I'm not sure of that.
100,000,000%.
I'm not sure he is.
I
He
gotta
wants to
speak
be
my
dictator,
truth.
but
I
I'm
love
not sure.
everybody, but I gotta say that. So
Well, anyway.
yeah.
And I have to agree because, I mean, when people that worked with him that were military generals say that he's a fascist.
He idolizes Hitler. He idolizes Putin. He idolizes Kim Jong
Oh, he
of
idolizes
North Korea. Yes, those are his idols.
Yeah, yes, Michaela, they are. Unfortunately, yes.
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard that. I mean, I know he does admire a strong leader and sees these dictators as strong leaders, but
No,
you know, there
they're
are
his idols.
I don't know. I don't know, but I haven't heard that. But anyway, the point is he would not want America to fail. I mean, that's
Exactly. You haven't heard that. He
At
wants
what
Hitler's
cost?
I'm
generals.
looking at his chart. I don't think he would want America to fail. And
He
maybe
wants Hitler's generals. He wants generals like Hitler had. That was his latest statement.
but Hitler was nuts. He wanted to take over, like Netanyahu wanted
Hey.
He's
to
nuts
take
too.
over. Netanyahu
He's
wants to
also
take over the
nuts.
whole Middle East. I mean, that's insane. And Hitler wanted to do the same thing with Europe. I mean, insane. So I don't
Love
think
you all.
he's insane.
Gotta
He's
go.
not.
Bye-bye.
But
Thank
anyway,
you, Marty.
thank you,
Thank you all.
Marty. Anyway,
Have
I'm
a great night,
to have
everyone.
these debates. And let's
Thank
hope
you
Thank
for
you, Nia.
joining us. And
Thank you
to be
for
continued.
being there.
guilty now. But hey, what will be will be. And it's fate. And as we can see, there's a sort of fate that's overtaking us anyway, that will be what it will be. And things do have to get worse before they get better, but they will get better. But first we have to go through the storm.
We have to push through. Yep.
Push
exactly.
through and do whatever it takes to get through, but realize that we will get through it. But we need to see the whole picture of the shadow. We need to see it and stop pointing.
Not before spring, we don't.
Right.
First we go through
Thank
winter.
you. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. That was great.